Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies in all time and talk about them. And then just occasionally, just sometimes, quite a lot this week, we get together with people behind some brand new horror films and have a lovely discussion with them as we get towards festival season. And that is what we're doing today. Today, I am very lucky to be joined by director, writer, and star of upcoming horror movie 5, Dani Barker and Teagan Vince. Both of you. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, thank you for having us.
No, thank you
Yeah,
for
thanks,
joining
Dani.
me. And before the normal working day in your time zone, so thank you for getting up and getting on camera with me early. So thank you very much indeed. Um, where to begin? I tell you what, before we talk about Five and Fright Fest and all the things we're going to be looking at there, I want to dive into a little bit of your guys' history, if I can, as filmmakers, film stars. Dani, I feel like I could have done with a little bit more. I wanted to spend some more time preparing myself and looking at all the wonderful shorts that you have available on YouTube and your website already. You're a prolific filmmaker across multiple genres already. You appear to have been steered towards the horror path. What has attracted you to this end of genre film?
Yeah, great question. Uh, it's a funny position I find myself in these days. Honestly, it started as as a teenage girl being hooked on horror movies, literally addicted to them. It was the adrenaline. It was Horror movies were the only things that kept me awake, and probably those erotic thriller movies that would play on TV late at night.
Hmm. You've all been there, hand on the remote, ready to change the channel.
Exactly. So I was completely obsessed with horror movies growing up. And that's definitely what drew me in. They were very taboo, like not the traditional thing you should be watching at 12 years old. And I think that's what always excited me about them. So I think subconsciously I was studying horror movies from a very young age. And now here I find myself in this world and perpetually terrified to watch horror movies as an adult,
Hmm.
which is a bit ironic as a horror director now.
Thank you so much. And Tegan, how about you? Because again, looking into your back catalogue, I feel like we'll talk about Five in a minute, but it feels like it's landed in your lap perfectly for your body of work because you've done some of the films that we see referenced in Five, but also you've had your turn at horrors as well. I'm not going to Sophie's choice you and ask you to pick what your favorite is, but what's attracted you to what's attracted you to horror as an actor?
I think it's again, it's like what Danny said, it's the adrenaline. I was such a horror film nerd when I was a kid. I loved 80s horror. Um, and I think shooting horror, Danny, you could probably attest to this, it's so fun. It's so much fun because you get to get bloody and pretend to be scared. And I don't know, it's always just been a really exciting experience for me on set. And actually, fun fact, Danny and I met shooting a horror movie called The Scare House back in 2013. So that's how her and I know each other. So this is kind of like a reunion, being able to do a horror movie
So
together.
this is like your meet cute when you first met on the scene of Scarehouse as you
Yes.
filmed that together. Because Danny, of course, you've spent some time in front of the camera as well, right?
Yeah, I spent most of my career in front of the camera, and I love that you brought that up, Tegan. That was Gavin Booth's film, and we were both victims that had to be tortured in our own way. But yeah, that was that was
Yeah.
such a
Spoiler
fun
alert, Danny
time.
and I get absolutely slaughtered. Oh no.
Yeah, we had some good torture scenes in that movie. But yeah, that's so funny to recall that because Tegan and I met when we were in Toronto. So we did a lot of indie projects at that time as actors.
Oh wow. And it's nice, like you see this so often. I mean, I don't do a podcast about other genres of film, but it seems everyone I meet in horror, there is such a fondness for people that you meet working on these in these working environments and these sets. And I've seen people that continue to work together time after time, and it forms some wonderful friendships, at least as far as I've seen. I guess people don't come and talk to me about, and I hated this person and will never work with them again. But yeah, it seems to have a real bonding effect when people work together in these things.
Fellow thrill seekers, I think.
Yes, fellow thrill seekers for sure. Sorry, now
Mhm.
my now my head is in the scene from the scare house of Gavin had put together this torture contraption where literally my ribs get crushed, attached to a machine that's pulling my corset so tight that my guts fall out.
What a time. Already, the one thing between this description and through, just preparing to come and meet with you both today, the pair of you, the organizers of Fright Fest, they have so much to answer for because I think all of you bring new filmmakers to our attention that, maybe you don't see every day in the Hollywood reviews and so on. And he does irreparable damage to my watch list, if nothing else. Like I've got so much stuff to watch. Danny, I wanted to actually touch a little bit on some of your backdrop as well. Certainly, I haven't had a chance to watch everything just yet. But I wonder, like, is there any other large influences in your filmmaking in terms of countries in particular? Because from some of your film titles and then some pieces of music, I picked up some British influence, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question. I'm just thinking about, I mean, Five is a horror comedy, which
Hmm.
is my favorite genre. I think you're really lucky if you get to dabble in this world because it's quite a complex genre to be
Hmm.
able to do both. I mean, I think my biggest influences at this point in my career are people like Jordan Peele
Hmm.
because he really does find that balance of both horror and comedy. And then Ari Aster's another one as well. I just love his films. I think
Yeah.
I find them both to be quite risk takers and willing to try something different, which is really what I always aspire to, especially as a director, is to do something that's out of the norm, something that we haven't seen before, which is very much what Five is. British influences, I have to think on that one.
This could just be from, you said you've worked a lot in Canada and so on. I know we are slightly more related than, directly US. I
Yeah.
will, I'll show my working. I was watching a little bit of AI Artist, and there is a piece of music that comes up, which is also from a phenomenally, for my, let's call it vintage in particular, phenomenally popular for a children's art show, which was huge when I was
Oh,
growing up.
yes.
So that Art Attack music hit, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And then I noticed one of your other comedy shorts called Poo Bag. I don't know if Poo Bag translates elsewhere in the world, but it is, as a dog owner in the UK, every piece of clothing I have that has pockets features poo bags in some way or another. So
Except
straight
that
away I was like, my goodness.
short has nothing to do with a dog.
Just from the title, that is next on my watch list.
I think you'll enjoy that one. It's only a 3-minute short film. That one, my partner and I shot it during the COVID lockdown. So it was just us in our apartment, nobody else. And I think we really pulled that one off. But that one's just pure comedy.
It looks really fun. And like having only been able to spool through and see just a couple of clips, it looks like you're having so much fun filming them, which is so important. And Tegan, I turned to you on this when I first exchanged emails with Danny when we were setting this up. Watching Five, one of the things I immediately took away from it was it looks like you in particular, no shade on any of us, but it looks like you are having so much fun in this movie.
I mean, it was a lot of things. I was having so much fun. I always say to, I don't know if I've said this to Danny, but people who have asked me what the process was like filming it, anytime we got to shoot the rom-com scenes in the movie, it felt like a break. Because whenever I was playing Five, I was so physically exhausted
Mhm.
because the scenes were so intense. And Five, the character, moves so much and contorts so much and has so much energy, and it was hard to keep up with. And I think, yeah, just having calmer scenes to shoot in between, it was like, okay, I can relax a little bit.
I do want to talk actually a little bit about Five in general. Obviously, it's what we're here to discuss today. But as you've conjured it and the making it and the inclusion of those like rom-com scenes as well, Danny, to you and the rest of your production crew as well, one thing that really struck me watching it is how effectively you're able to show the difference in what is in reality a singular film that you have released, the visual language that you use and the changes in the lighting and the way that the palette works and just how Teagan carries herself in those different scenes. It truly is transformative and it looks like two films of different genres within the same thing. It is it really struck me how you did that. And let's face it, I'm not made of stone. I've watched my fair share of Christmas rom-coms. Hot Frosty for life, come on.
Oh, I
But
love that one. I really like that one actually.
And Lindsay Lohan, what a comeback. I've seen
Yeah.
one. Is it Falling for Christmas? That was on the list last year. She falls off
Uh,
a cliff and gets amnesia. She gets better, don't worry.
yeah,
Honestly, I mix up all the names, but I know what you're talking about.
same. I wouldn't be able to place the title because they all sound the same at the end of the day.
There's always Christmas or love in the title, and
Yeah.
it's a variation of different words behind it or before it.
Yeah. Yeah, but to speak to that, Andy, I mean, we very much leaned into establishing these different worlds within this film. And so that was really exciting for me as a director and as one of the writers on it. I worked with Aaron Boys and Mike Hassan, who's our executive producer, to craft this story. And the whole goal was to create these saturated romance scenes so that anyone who, even if they don't tune in and watch TV movies, can still recognize it just by having a glimpse into that world. And we wanted to keep everything really budget friendly in that we didn't need to go rent this mansion house in order for it to look like one of those TV movies, but that this
Mhm.
is supposed to be a scrappy, low budget TV movie that they're making within the film. And therefore, we had the luxury of decorating one corner of the house to look like a romance scene, or one little piece of the yard where they're raking leaves with a leaf blower to make it look like the wind is rushing in. And so we had a lot of freedom to play within that, knowing that we didn't need it to be extremely elaborate and need to production design the whole set in order for it to look like a TV movie.
Yeah, well, as part for my money, very well realized, wonderfully realized, and
Thank
I love hearing these stories as well about how your, independent filmmakers. I mean, I'm sure if anyone wants to give you tens of millions of dollars to make a film, you would gladly make use of it. But it's wonderful seeing how you're able to achieve these things when you are having to control what your spend is. Let's not leave the people hanging though. Let me read them a little synopsis of what Five is all about. So, Five revolves around fallen movie legend Melody Palmer, played by our very own Teagan Vince here, who, after a spectacular run of box office flops and a period in rehab, is hoping her star will rise again with a rom-com, Renovated Romance. I'd watch it. But while on location shooting her hopeful comeback, she finds a cabin in the woods and becomes possessed by a demonic force, causing havoc amongst the crew. And I want to turn straight away to something you mentioned about the your favorite genre being comedy horror. I think
you.
so often when we get a film in this comedy horror genre, one of those is capitalized and one of those is in lowest case letters. It's a rare occasion, I think, when you really do land the coin on its edge and both of these feature equally. Not just saying this because you're here. I think you've landed that plane. I think the like I wouldn't necessarily choose that it goes in either of these orders, first or second, or one is bigger than the other. I think you've achieved something which is both because genuinely with no spoilers here, some of the possession moments, some of the physical stuff you get in there, you lean directly into that horror. You're not playing those some of those elements for laughs. Tegan, you've mentioned it was a very physical experience. How was it mentally preparing for those sort of character shifts as you jumped between those scenes as well?
Really didn't have a lot of time to think about it. I
Get
also
on,
didn't
what's
have a lot
next?
of prep time because I jumped onto this film very last minute. So Danny and I have talked about this. When you don't have a lot of time to think about it, you sort of just have to go off impulse, and
Mhm.
it becomes a little bit more organic that way because when you're not thinking about it, you're just feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well,
jumping, sorry.
yeah. No, so carry on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, so jumping in between, you just have to go, oh, okay, what are we doing now? Okay, now we're doing, a loving rom-com. Okay. Center myself here. Get the
In the
demon
zone.
out. Do a metaphorical exorcism.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of the structure of the film, were you quite regularly jumping between sets, or were you filming fairly chronologically?
Good
Definitely not.
question.
Yeah,
No,
definitely
yeah, it
not.
was.
It was all over the place.
Oh yeah, yeah, it really was. Every time I look back to that time, I call it losing my mind for 15 days because that's what it felt like.
You
Not me
did.
personally, but like as, a character. And then I'd go home and I'd have to force myself to go to sleep because you just get up and do it all the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell like
And
when you've done something you're excited about because that is exactly the feeling. Doesn't matter how tired you are, you'll be like, oh my God, I'm thinking about this that I'm going to do tomorrow. And this is like you can be working on something if it's truly captured your attention. It's like, should we just carry on now? But
Yeah, yeah. And like the character five, the demon talked so much. So there was so much dialogue too. Like there were days where I'd walk onto set and I think Danny, I'd be like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get this today. And we did.
I think we were lucky too in that we did build up to those possession scenes.
mhm.
And so we didn't have to jump into those immediately. We had some warm up time to find our groove. But I do know that that one really intimate scene with you and Sean, we had no time left. Like we had minutes to shoot that scene. I think we did it in one take. We did it in one fluid motion where we because in post, Scott Bellier, who edited the film, we had nothing to pull from in that scene. So there's a couple moments when we catch the lights that had to be comped out because there was no other take to pull
Yeah,
from.
so you've got to
And
get what you're getting from this shot that we're
yeah. And Tegan and Sean were so good because we had so little time. It was the end of the day. We couldn't go into overtime. We literally had to wrap. So it was like, guys, we have one shot at this. Are you comfortable? We did a check-in, a little like intimacy check-in, and Tegan and Sean were like, I mean, Tegan, tell me if I'm wrong, but my perspective of it, you guys were like, let's just go for it. Like, we got
Well,
this. Yeah.
that's exactly what I was saying before, where you don't have a lot of time to think about it or hum and haw about it. You just kind of have to jump in and be like, okay, well, this is our shot. We got to do this or we don't.
Yeah. That's what it felt like a lot of the days too. It's like we got to get this scene. And if I definitely felt the pressure as a director that if we don't get the scene by the end of the day, we're not going to get the scene at all. Like
Mhm.
we don't have the luxury of like it was a 12-day shoot. And so it was a hustle. And you can't just push scenes, you can't carry that forward to the next day because you don't have the luxury of time. Like you got to get it that day or that scene is getting scrapped.
Yeah, and this is so often we see this with independent filmmakers that it is so many of the shots that you run for or so many of the scenes that you get filmed are do or die. This is happening or this
Yeah,
film isn't happening. Um,
exactly.
yeah, and the ingenuity that that brings out in everyone
Yeah.
creatively in editing is it's why I do this every single week. Because it's amazing to see.
Mhm.
I know how we've learned earlier how the two of you met. How about the rest of your cast? More old friends in there, or or were the new faces that you met along the way?
This is what I think is really cool about our cast is that we have your Hallmark faces in our cast that also cross over into that world. So it's almost like having Easter eggs in
Hmm.
our rom-com world because we have Giles Panton and Donna B, who are both very familiar faces in the rom-com world. I also do a lot of Lifetime and Hallmark movies, so it was kind of cool to get to work with them in the horror genre because I'm used to working with them outside in the Hallmark world.
And now you've had that crossover, Tegan, is there any temptation next time you're on uh seasonal romantic movie, just throw out a little five voice in there to spice things up between takes?
Wow, okay, this is where art would be imitating life or life would be imitating art because if I pulled out the five voice on set, they would think I was very unwell.
If someone brings you the wrong
Exactly,
sandwich, crack that out.
which is exactly what our movie's about.
Yeah, I mean, and that brings up a good story too. Well, I mean, a sad story because part of the inspiration of how we came up with this was based on a true story about a woman who was on a Hallmark set. And she had Aaron Boys, who I wrote the screenplay with Mike, uh, had this experience where she was on the set with this person who had been going through a miscarriage. And so she had this devastating thing happen in her real life. And yet she was cast as a lead in a Hallmark movie and had to appear beautiful and grounded. And everything is about love and happiness and romance. And it's perfect. And there's no actual like real life in there. It's a
Mhm.
fantasy. These movies are escapism. And so she's dealing with this real life trauma that's happening, but having to pull herself together to look perfect on screen. And we're like, wow, that's brutal, but
And the
fascinating.
pressure she must have been under, right? Because you've mentioned it from your own movie. If these things don't happen for any reason, then there is no next day. There isn't the same, you work a 9 to 5 and oh, it's okay, claim your sick pay and see you in a week. Like you've got to get out there and do it, right?
Yeah, and I always thought it was so interesting, just the idea of, if you're going through this horrific breakup or divorce, and these movies are built 100% about finding the love of your life, and you knew, you knew in the back of your mind the whole time that you're filming that you just lost the love of your life. It's like, oh, how gut-wrenching that would
Mm.
be on camera day after day, pretending that you're living your ultimate romance.
That's what I think is really cool about our movie, Five, is because that's exactly, Melody's process and you get to see it. You get to see both worlds where, they have her put together with hair and makeup and she looks perfect, but on the inside, she's a disaster.
Yeah.
And you see that. It's not something that's hidden. Like it's very much, visualized in a big way.
Yeah. And it is almost whiplash, especially when you add in not only how they've made you up differently, Tegan, and how they're presenting it in the script, but with that color saturation that you get in those movies and the way they're lit as well, it is from one extreme to the other. You have a scene in your trailer where Melody is really, really suffering in a bad way. And at this point, many people have realized this, right, as the film is going on. Um, and then there'll be a scene from the movie where you are in like glorious Technicolor. Um, yeah, it is for me. It made like a you know, wonderfully engaging watch. Like I say, I was down on the sofa one evening getting through our Fright Fest homework, and it was a great, refreshing watch for us. Keep me honest, everybody, though, because I know this time of year everything is some form of premiere. What premiere is this for you at Fright Fest this coming week? Is it world? Is it international? Is it European?
This is our world premiere.
Hmm.
Wow. excited. I know that the travel is looking unlikely. Miracles happen. Maybe we will see you, but um, just in case you aren't there to see it for yourself, what would you like? What would be your ideal to be sitting at the back of that auditorium? What reactions would you love to see from an audience as they sit down to this?
I think it would be really cool if they could go on the emotional roller coaster that the film is. They laugh and feel some sort of, connection to the terrifying moments and the very sad moments.
Yeah.
Wonderful. How
And
about you,
I would
Jenny?
just add to that too, to also second the laughter. I feel like if people are laughing, they get the movie, they get what we really went after with it. But there's also a few jump scares in there, and I feel like for me, it would be extremely satisfying to get a couple of squeals and screams in the theater. Then I feel like I've done my job.
Mhm.
Amazing. And what about for not everyone's so lucky to be in London this week? How about coming up in the upcoming months? Have you got more festivals that you're going to be screening at as the year continues?
So FrightFest is really kicking off our festival journey,
Mhm.
and we were a late submission coming in, and so we hadn't yet submitted to any other film festivals. So we are still waiting to hear. We have five submitted into 5 to 10 other festivals, and hoping to get into some and journey to those festivals and showcase this movie to different parts of the world, to be determined.
Well, hopefully we will see it in a lot more. Obviously, we will make sure that when we post this, we include all of the socials, all of your website. We're not here to talk about your website, but fabulously put together, by the way.
Thank
Um, yeah, having all the so often when we interview a director, like it's a little legwork to go and find some of their other stuff, but it's right there. You've got those videos embedded. You've made my life exceptionally easy, and for that, I thank you. Yeah, we will make sure that we share those. I take it that your website and your socials will be the best place to follow for more news as to
Yeah,
when
we
more's
never
coming.
did. We haven't opened a separate account for the movie. I've done that with nearly every project, and then it just goes to die
Who needs the
eventually.
admin? Come on.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid it if possible, but they're very likely we're going to have a website at some point. Yeah.
No, it's a smart move. Get them to follow. If you follow you, this is how you become, you get that freedom to be creative when you are an independent filmmaker and when you are the Jordan Peels of the world where people trust you. There's that horrible middle ground where you're a skilled filmmaker, but you have to do what the money men tell you. So you build up your brand and then you seize that control, my friend. Like, so it may be early to talk about what's next. I don't want you to break any embargoes here, but anything that you've got coming next that you're starting to think about, or anything you'd like to do next?
I'll let Tegan go first if you have
Mhm.
anything on the horizon, Teags.
Um, I've gotten my feet wet again in the horror genre, and um, I would love to jump into another horror movie. I feel like enough time has passed, my nervous system has calmed down that I
Mhm.
could probably do another one. So I'm manifesting that. Um, and there'll likely be some rom-coms along the way because I always do a couple of those a year. I've had a few things just premiere on Lifetime, and yeah, I'm ready to get my feet wet again.
Oh,
I'm
we'll
ready to
steal
get
we'll
bloody
steal you
again.
yet.
Yeah.
We'll steal you from no, yeah, romance's loss will be horror's gain. We'll get you over with us
Yeah.
full time. And you know what? Like I've said, I'm not against those rom-coms. I'm not one of those podcasts like anything outside the specific genre I like, no thanks. Um what when we come to those, let's talk about the romance movie. Keep me honest, for I've now lost my note. The title of the rom-com in five is
Renovate.
Renovated Romance.
Renovated Romance.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, I'll say this between us here. If you want to just put that out in full, and
We
then
have we
you
have
have
that.
It's
We had the
available in
whole
full.
script written. Well, we have the script written. Eva Tavares wrote the full feature-length version of Renovated Romance. And initially, we had planned to film both movies at the same time. That was the whole impetus for this project, was that we were going to be filming Renovated Romance, use the scenes from that actual movie, and put them in the horror version, and then deliver these two movies out into the world at the same time so that people
My
could
goodness.
basically watch the behind the scenes of making the TV movie, meanwhile seeing that the actress is losing her mind.
This is wonderful. I mean, in a world where physical releases, they've always been cool, but they are coming back in a big way. Imagine
Yeah.
a world, take note, distributors, and get your wallets ready. Imagine if you release Renovated Romance as a standalone Blu-ray disc, but then five in its entirety is a DVD extra that you can just watch in there. The
Yeah.
ghost of Wes Craven himself will be smiling down on you like Mufasa in the clouds. That would be the most
Oh, yeah.
wonderfully meta creation I have heard of in my life.
Oh, that's so inspiring for me, Andy. That really lights a fire under me to get that other project going. Because then,
Right.
yeah, and we have another project out under our belt, and Renovated Romance is a great script. It's a great story, and it would be perfect that we just continue our legacy.
Yeah, I would absolutely watch it. To be fair, forgot for a moment we were recording. I was about to ask who, how the couple sync up, but I said, no, that still is in spoiler territory. I'm not
Oh,
mentioning it
yeah.
now. We'll talk about it later. And
Yeah.
I think that's the triumph of the film. I think you've created engaging, interesting characters from the real life cast and crew and the people that are within the film as a cast and crew of the film that you're making. Yeah, I had a great
Oh,
time watching. I'm sure people at Fright Festival as well.
yeah. There are so many parallels to what we were going through on our actual set and what we filmed, especially with the like there we talk about the two worlds, but there's really three worlds, and the third world
Mhm.
is from frenetic behind the scenes of the making of the movie.
Mhm.
And that's what happens when you're going into one of these scrappy indie films and you're stretching every dollar, and you're doing everything that you possibly can to film it at one location, to do it in 12 days or less. And so there's always a level of chaos in there and last minute scrambles. And so we really tried to show that in this movie as well. And as one example, Lauren McGibbon, who plays Devin, the director, was very much me as my first feature length project as a director and the pressures of that. So in some ways, she was just playing me on the set. So there's a lot of parallels trickled into this movie in that way.
And we've talked about two genres and two ways of presenting things. You don't leave it at that, do you? You manage to produce, we won't spoil you manage to produce like a YouTube series as well with its own aesthetic and its own design as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in there also para wormhole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You've turned your hand to all these different genres. I'd hire you for any of these roles. Again, take note, producers and financiers of the world. Um, Before we finish up here and I let you get on with the rest of your days, um, possibly the biggest and toughest question. You've identified yourselves as horror fans now, so I'm really going to put the pressure on both of you. You haven't got to share an answer. I'm not going to force you down that path. You can choose one each. Um, Going to put the spotlight on you. Obviously, we do a podcast called The Horror Hangout here, where we get together and we chat about movies and the experience of watching them and the times you have. So, both of you planning your own individual horror night. You've got a mixed crowd coming round, not hardcore horror fans, not your grandma and kids either, like a real mixed bunch coming to you for a spooky evening of entertainment and films. What snacks are you putting on? And what movie are you going to choose to show these people who I won't judge your answer, but these imaginary people absolutely will. They'll be talking about this for weeks. Teagan, I'm going to turn to you first. What would you choose?
Okay, because I was such a fan of 80s horror, I would put on a movie called April Fool's Day. I don't know if it's as well known as most uh, more common 80s horror like Child's Play or Halloween. But April Fool's Day, again, it's a movie that kind of blurs two worlds. But I will not give away any spoilers because if you haven't seen it, you should definitely put
You
it on your
absolutely
list.
must.
And the snack would be loaded nachos because that is my favorite. I'm known amongst my group of friends. Actually, Georgia Bradner, who is in our movie, we have loaded nacho nights together and watch
Oh,
movies. So this is not just some made up fantasy. Georgia and
This
I
is
actually
tried
do
and
that.
tested then.
Exactly. And Georgia's very good at making guacamole, so we might have to bring Georgia back to bring some guac.
She's in. It's on the books. April Fool's Day I have not seen for many, many years.
I love that you've seen it because
Oh,
when you know the movie, it's incredible.
I think I last saw it at my friend Stuart's house in 1998. I may have seen it in the intervening years. It's terribly weird that I remember that particular scenario when I have cousins who have children whose names I have no clue on. But I can tell you when I probably saw a movie in 1998. I can see it's on my watch list on Letterboxd. We'll get it back up there for a recycle. You've pulled more inspiration for us, Tegan.
That's what's so cool about the genre is because you can remember the moment that you watched that movie.
Yeah,
But I bet if I asked you what you did yesterday, you probably couldn't remember.
yeah, not really. It's been a long week. What day is it? Tuesday.
Yeah.
How about you, Danny? Can you equal that? Can you beat it?
there's so many movies coming to mind right now. I feel like I have to give a shout out to One Cut of the Dead, which was such a big inspiration for this movie. And they really did something so unique and cutting edge with that film. And they really give you a glimpse into the behind the scenes.
Mhm.
That is no, I don't think that's necessarily for the general audience, though. For a general audience, I would go back to one of my favorite films, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
A wonderful film.
Oh, I love that movie. I love the characters, the relationships that they build in it, this constant question of do we believe him? In five, the question that always comes up is do we believe her? In 10 Cloverfield Lane, John Goodman plays the character where we don't know if what he's saying is the truth. And so we're constantly trying to figure it out through the eyes of the other characters that are trapped in this underground bunker. And because it's all filmed in one location again, it's always one of the most inspiring stories for me as an indie filmmaker of how to set something in one location, keep it interesting and
Hmm.
raise the stakes as you go. And my snack would be the popcorn that my microwavable popcorn with spice and nutritional yeast, which I feel like I have
Oh,
nailed and sneak into all the movie theaters.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
I'm
good.
gonna need to try this, Danny.
Oh, it's so good. Just you wait.
Oh, this sounds good. So, what spices we thinking? A bit of hot spice, or like just a bit mild?
It's a little bit of hot spice and it's a little bit of lemon.
Well, I tell you what, you've changed the whole game. You've turned my world on its head with that with
I'm the
that
one that
snack
comes in
choice.
with the big Tupperware bowl into every movie theater and I'm shaking it so that the nutritional yeast spreads around into all of it and a little bit of olive oil.
Look
So
at it.
good.
This keeps getting
I
bolder and bolder. And do you have to play the game where it's a bit like having the dashboard light on in your car. No one's truly sure if it's illegal or not if you're taking this stuff into the cinema. So you kind of have to like go in a big coat even in the summer and sort of hide it.
I put it in a backpack.
Can I look in your backpack? No, it's camera equipment. I'm going to. It's definitely not snacks. You can't look.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they had these hard rules around no food and drink, and then at some point they realized that they can't stop people from doing that, and now the rules are vague. So
Yeah.
we don't, we never really know anymore.
Yeah, you have to have these arguments with poor ushers earning minimum wage, like people do with like community police, where it's like, you ain't a real policeman. You can't
Yeah,
stop me from doing this.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
The other week in the cinema, me and my wife saw people having literally, they were living their best lives. We went to see Thunderbolts when that came out. Wife
Yeah.
isn't a big cinema person because she doesn't like that other people exist in a room where you're meant to be quiet. She would like to
Oh,
watch a film in the void of space where there is nothing. Um, but she was slightly inspired by these people who had not a bottle of wine, not like a little can of drink. They had a box of wine. They had a box of wine and
Oh yeah, they're
a
doing it
couple of
right.
glasses. We saw them get through that box of wine during the course of that movie. They were having the best time. They had a little blanket that they put across their knees. They had some sandwiches. They'd really
Wow, they
come
were having a whole
prepared.
picnic in the theater.
Yeah.
wow, I'm surprised they weren't just passing cups down the line.
Yeah. Oh, have you got any hummus over there? Send it over. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite tough. Well, excellent picks, both of you. Neither of my goodness, neither of those films we've done a full episode on the podcast. Tell you what, if schedules permit and you haven't had a horrible time talking to me over the last hour, you're both very welcome to come and join us for full episodes one of these days, and we can cover your choices. That would be a delight as
That
far
would
as
be
I'm
really
concerned.
cool,
Yeah.
actually. I'm due for a rewatch. I haven't seen
Yeah.
it in a
Same,
while.
Right,
same.
I'll tell Ben to hit the scheduling buttons. We'll, our people can talk to your people. We'll get this thing scheduled out, by which I mean we'll email each other. And we will sort all those things out. But for
Yeah.
now, you go and enjoy your days. I'm gonna go and wrap things up over here. Thank you so much for talking to me about Five. Those of you who are in London, if you still haven't booked all of your Discovery screenings, you can. You can go and see Five at FrightFest when it is on over this weekend at time of release. If not, wherever you're listening to this in the future, check out Danny's socials, check out our notes. We'll tell you where you can find it, and you can go and watch it for yourself and watch it with the knowledge you've just learned of the behind the scenes stories. While I'm thanking people, thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you for Taj Easton for doing our lovely theme music. You're a good man, Taj. You do great work. Thanks to the folks over at Acast for hosting the show. If you like what we're doing, consider becoming a Patreon over on our website. You can find that all over there, along with all of our other episodes. Thank you most of all, though, to you, Danny, and you, Teagan, for spending some time with me. And for now, we'll say goodbye.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
us.
Cheers. Bye,
Yeah, thanks for having
everybody.
us.
Bye.
Bye.